Have you ever felt like something invisible was controlling your life? An unseen force quietly shaping your decisions, your emotions, even your reality? There's an ancient truth that few today fully grasp. The part of you that remains unseen, hidden even from yourself, quietly controls your life. The ancients knew this. The mystics knew this. Those trained in the sacred mysteries were taught to understand it. They called it the shadow. Not because it was evil, but because it was hidden, cloaked in darkness. Not from the world, but from you. It is the unseen part of yourself. Across almost every ancient tradition, from Egyptian mysticism to Gnostic teachings, from Hermetic philosophy to Eastern inner alchemy, there is one unbroken truth. If you want to create, if you want to command your reality, you must bring the unconscious into the light of consciousness. You must be willing to face what has been buried. You must be willing to face your shadow, and not with surface-level affirmations, not through spiritual bypassing that tries to skip over the hard parts, but by honestly acknowledging what's there, even when it's uncomfortable. Because this world, this living mirror we call reality, doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to who you actually are. And the truth is, you're not just reflecting the parts of you that you've accepted. You're also projecting the parts you've rejected, the pieces of yourself you've tried to exile, the wounds you're too afraid to look at. It's those rejected parts, the ones left in the shadows, that are shaping so much of your external reality. If you've ever felt like something was off, if you've been doing all the right things but still find yourself stuck in the same loops, hitting the same walls, facing the same strange resistance, this is why. The shadow is not meant to be suppressed. It's not meant to be ignored. It's meant to be integrated, to be illuminated by the light of your awareness, until you truly face it, not with fear, not with shame, but with honesty and compassion. You won't be the one steering the course of your life, and your reality will continue to reflect the unhealed parts of you. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through why shadow work is the missing piece to true reality creation, and how the moment you begin to integrate it, the very fabric of your reality starts to shift. Let's dive in. You see, so much of what shapes your reality comes from the unconscious parts of you, the parts you're not even actively aware of. And to make this easier to visualize, I want you to imagine something energetic, anchors. Picture yourself suspended in a vast body of water. You're floating effortlessly in the middle of it, and yes, in this analogy, you can breathe underwater, so no need to worry. Now, higher up, closer to the surface, are the higher frequencies of life. Love, peace, joy, gratitude, abundance. When you live in those states, you naturally attract more of the same. People who dwell in these higher states often live richer, more fulfilling lives because life mirrors back to them the love, the abundance, and the peace they carry inside. But down below, deeper in the water, are the lower energies, the heavier states of consciousness. Guilt, shame, apathy, fear. Even pride at certain levels. These emotions pull you downward, away from the surface, away from the light.
Now imagine this. If you had nothing weighing you down, if you carried no burdens, no unresolved shadows, no anchors, you would naturally rise. You would effortlessly ascend toward the surface, toward joy, gratitude, abundance, and all the beautiful reflections of those states in your physical life. But most people aren't experiencing that effortless rise. Why? Because they're carrying energetic anchors, unresolved pain, unhealed wounds, trapped emotions that hold them closer to the depths. And here's the critical point. If we don't release these anchors, there will always be a ceiling, a limitation on how high we can rise, no matter how much we desire the surface,
No matter how much we strive for joy and abundance, these unseen anchors will continue to pull us back until we face them, heal them, and let them go. Even if you were to start frantically swimming toward the surface, doing all the right things, using all the tools, practicing all the techniques, if you haven't cleared the anchors, you're still fighting an uphill battle because those anchors are still tied to you. And as you swim harder and harder, you will find yourself getting exhausted, overwhelmed, and eventually pulled right back down, sometimes even deeper than where you started. In fact, the struggle itself can cause you to pick up even more weight, more emotional baggage, more frustration, more self-judgment, dragging you down even further. That's why the solution isn't always about adding more things to your life. It's not about frantically trying to do more, achieve more, force your way to the surface. The real solution is much simpler and much more powerful. Look down, see the anchors you're carrying, and start releasing them. Because when you release the anchors, you naturally begin to rise. You don't have to fight for it. You don't have to struggle. It just happens. You may have heard the idea that your true essence, your natural state, is already high vibrational. And it's true. At your core, you are a being of light, of love, of high frequency. You were always meant to float effortlessly at those higher levels of consciousness. This whole process isn't about becoming something new. It's about removing what doesn't belong. The trauma, the fear, the guilt, the grief, all the heavy energies that have gotten stuck in your energetic field over time. These heavy energies are what we refer to as the shadow, the parts of you that have been buried, hidden, exiled, and when you do the inner work, the shadow work, to integrate and release these parts, it's like cutting loose those energetic anchors. You will start to rise naturally. You won't have to force it. You won't have to constantly struggle to stay afloat. Of course, there are things you can do to amplify your rise practices that act like a propeller, helping you ascend even faster, but without releasing the anchors first. Even the strongest efforts will eventually pull you back down, because those lower energies, fear, apathy, guilt, shame, grief, they exist at the bottom. And if part of you is still anchored there, you'll always be fighting against the pull. Shadow work gives you the key to release those anchors, to free yourself from what's been weighing you down, so you can finally rise to the higher realms of emotion and consciousness. And if you've been following this channel for a while, you already know the outer world mirrors the inner world. The more you live in higher states of energy, the more your physical reality begins to shift effortlessly to match the beauty, the peace, and the abundance you now carry within. But again, most people today are still dwelling in the depths of their inner world. They are thinking from the depths. They are feeling from that heavy place deep inside. And because of that, they keep seeing the same heavy reflections mirrored back to them in their physical lives. This is why shadow work becomes absolutely essential. Without facing and releasing these hidden anchors, without doing the inner work, it becomes almost impossible to sustain the higher levels of consciousness. You might have brief moments where you rise, but eventually the weight pulls you right back down. Those energies, those thoughts, those old emotions, they're still there, stuck within you quietly, weighing you down. Until you deal with them, they'll continue to anchor you to the lower states. And that's exactly what this video is here to help you with, to show you how to start releasing the anchors that have been keeping you trapped. And I'm telling you, miracles happen when you begin this process. I've seen it firsthand. We've guided clients through advanced shadow work techniques inside our program, Maxit, which you can learn more about down below, and the results have been incredible. Once they released those old hidden anchors, doors started opening, opportunities appeared, manifestations flowed in, not because they were forcing things to happen, but because they naturally rose into higher frequencies and reality simply responded. It really can feel like magic. Because for so many people, the only thing standing between them and the life they desire are the anchors they're still carrying. Anchors that keep pulling them back, lowering their vibration, dimming their energy, preventing them from reaching the energetic state required to access the realities they dream of. And here's the hard truth. If you can't access it energetically, if you can't align with it mentally and emotionally, you'll never be able to access it physically. Energy is the first creation. Physical reality is simply the reflection. Now that you understand why this work is so critical, we're going to move into the how. But I need to say this up front. This isn't the sparkly, feel-good part of manifestation. It's not rainbows and unicorns. It's about looking in the mirror and truly seeing the parts of yourself you've been avoiding, the shame, the guilt, the wounds you've tried to bury and forget. Because pushing them out of sight doesn't make them disappear. It just keeps them active beneath the surface, quietly shaping your life. When you can face them, when you can acknowledge, integrate, and release these buried emotions, everything changes. And the first powerful tool I want to introduce you to is forgiveness. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It has the ability to melt these anchors away like nothing else. We'll also explore a more advanced tool a little later. But first, I want to give you a simple practice you can start using right now to begin releasing these weights. Because for most people, what fills their shadow isn't just fear. It's deep emotions like shame, guilt, apathy, and grief. If we were to look at David Hawkins's map of consciousness, we would see that shame and guilt are actually the lowest vibrational emotions we can experience. Grief isn't far behind. Apathy lives in those same depths. And sadly, so much of the emotional weight trapped inside our shadows is directed not at others, but at ourselves. Many people carry a deep sense of blame within themselves, often without even realizing it. They've learned to turn their pain inward, to blame themselves for past mistakes, for things that went wrong, for wounds that were never really theirs to bear. And so, they carry this heavy guilt everywhere they go. Another anchor, one that keeps them weighed down, stuck far beneath their divine birthright, which is to live in the higher states of love, joy, and peace. This is why forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, becomes such a powerful tool for releasing these hidden anchors. The first step is simple but deeply transformative. Acknowledge anything and everything that you've been beating yourself up over. Take a few quiet moments with yourself. If you can grab a journal and simply ask, what have I been blaming myself for? Where have I been carrying unnecessary guilt? You see, most people go through their days on autopilot, unaware that deep inside they're constantly punishing themselves. They feel the weight of it through depression, lack of motivation, anxiety. But they rarely pause long enough to ask, what am I still holding against myself? By simply bringing awareness to it, by shining the light of consciousness on these hidden burdens, you may begin to experience emotional release right away. You might even realize you've been blaming yourself for things that logically you know weren't your fault. But this isn't about logic. This is about healing. This is about freedom. Whatever comes up, write it down. Big or small, it doesn't matter. Every burden you acknowledge is one step closer to cutting it loose. Now, once you have your list, here's a powerful next step. Forgive yourself out loud. And if you want to make this process even more powerful, do it in front of a mirror. Look into your own eyes, really see yourself and say, I forgive myself for, and go through each thing you wrote down. Let yourself feel it. Connect to it emotionally. Let the words land inside your heart. And know this, if you find yourself yawning, tearing up, coughing, sneezing, or even shaking a little, That's a good sign. Those physical responses are the body's way of releasing emotional energy. They're proof that the healing is happening. Remember the ancient principle as above, so below. What releases emotionally often manifests physically. Tears, yawns, sneezes. They're just the body's natural way of shedding the weight you've been carrying. So if these reactions come up, don't hold them back. Let the release happen. Don't suppress it, because suppression is exactly what created these energetic blocks in the first place. Now here's something else you can add to make the forgiveness process even more powerful. While you're speaking, your forgiveness statements gently tap on the heart, meridian point, a key energy center connected to emotional healing. Here's how to find it. Hold your hand up in front of you with the back of your hand facing you. Look at your pinky finger. Right where the nail and the flesh meet, that small spot is the heart meridian point. Lightly tap that spot as you go through your forgiveness process. You don't need to hit it hard. Just a gentle, rhythmic tap is enough. Tapping here helps activate the heart center, opening it wider to love, compassion, and self-acceptance. This combination, speaking your forgiveness and tapping the heart meridian, creates a powerful synergy that can accelerate emotional release and healing. By tapping on the heart meridian, as you move through this process, you are helping the energy flow more freely. You're allowing deeper releases to happen, not through force, but through openness. As you continue tapping, simply say for each thing you're holding on to, "I forgive myself for," and speak the specific situation or memory. Then immediately follow it with a "because," offering yourself a reason for compassion or understanding. For example, let's say there's something you've been carrying from childhood. You might say, "I forgive myself for what happened, because I was just a child. I didn't know any better. I was doing the best I could with what I knew at the time." You'll intuitively find the words that feel right for you. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to force anything. Just allow the emotions and insights to unfold naturally. And remember, you don't need to tackle your entire list all at once. You can start with a few, maybe 3 at a time, and come back to it later. Give yourself permission to take breaks, to breathe, to integrate. Because what you're doing here is powerful. For perhaps the first time in your life, you are truly seeing the parts of yourself you've long rejected. You're shining the light of awareness on them, and that light alone grants them permission to be released. When you do this, something remarkable happens. You'll often feel a sudden surge of energy. People often describe feeling lighter, more alive, more energized. Why? Because the anchor has been released. Because you've started floating naturally upward toward the higher realms, where greater energy, love, and abundance exist. This practice is a gift you give to yourself. But there's a second, equally important part. Forgiving others. Now I know this is where a lot of people struggle. Forgiving ourselves can feel hard, but forgiving someone who hurt us, that can feel almost impossible, especially when the pain is deep and when the anger feels justified. But forgiveness isn't about excusing their behavior. It's not about pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's about liberating yourself from the poison of resentment. One of my favorite pieces of wisdom comes from the Toltecs, the ancient wisdom keepers behind books like The 4 Agreements and The 5th Agreement. They say holding resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. In other words, the anger you carry isn't punishing them, it's punishing you. Forgiving others isn't about validating what they did. It's about choosing to release yourself from the energetic weight of the past, choosing to reclaim your freedom, your peace, and your future. So when you're ready, you can use the same process. Pick a memory or a person you feel resentment toward. Tap the heart meridian, look into your own eyes in the mirror and say, "I forgive," person's name, for, and then Because I am offering yourself a reason rooted in compassion or understanding, even if it's simply because I deserve to be free. Remember, forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. It's your way of cutting the energetic ties that have kept you tethered to pain. The past happened. You can't change it, but you can change the energy you carry forward, and that changes everything. When you're working on forgiving others, the process is almost identical to self-forgiveness, with a slight shift. You simply adjust the script. I forgive, name, for the event or action, because, and again, you offer a reason rooted in understanding or compassion. You might find this part more challenging. When hurt runs deep, it's easy to get stuck in anger, resentment, or pain, but I encourage you do your best to feel through it. Stretch your heart beyond the anger. Reach for some form of compassion, not for their sake, but for yours. Because the truth is, the energy you're holding on to is hurting you, not them. And as you forgive, even when it feels hard, the anchors attached to those situations, sometimes for years or even decades, begin to break loose. Your heart lightens, your energy rises, you reclaim your power. This simple technique, forgiving out loud, looking into the mirror, tapping on the heart meridian, is deceptively powerful. I highly recommend you make it part of your daily practice, especially whenever you feel the weight of new resentment or guilt creeping in. It's not just about healing the past. It's about preventing new energetic anchors from forming. It's about keeping your field clear and your spirit free. Because life will happen. People will frustrate you. Challenges will arise. Maybe someone cuts you off in traffic. Maybe a small misunderstanding flares into anger. Instead of allowing those experiences to fester and harden into new anchors, you can meet them in the moment with forgiveness. You can process it, release it, and stay light. Many of the biggest anchors people carry started out small, a minor wound, a passing slight, but grew larger over years of suppression and neglect. If they had addressed it early, it would have taken just moments to release. But left unchecked, these small hurts accumulate power, gaining momentum until they become heavy chains dragging us down. Catch them early. Forgive quickly. Release the weight before it becomes your burden to carry. Now, speaking of preventing new anchors, there's a mindset shift that can help tremendously. Recognizing the gift inside every trigger. There's a quote I love. I believe it was Wayne Dyer or someone similar that says, "You can only be triggered if you're loaded." Meaning, if there's something inside you, an old wound, an unhealed story, and life pokes it, you react. If there's nothing there, you remain at peace. So start paying close attention to your triggers. They are not obstacles. They are signposts. They're showing you exactly where an energetic anchor is hidden, exactly what needs to be seen and healed. Instead of falling into victimhood, see your triggers as sacred feedback. Life is handing you a golden opportunity, pointing straight at the block that once cleared will allow you to rise higher. And if you notice the same triggers coming up over and over, that's an even bigger clue. It's life's way of saying, hey, here's the next piece, ready to free yourself yet. Embrace the discomfort. Ask yourself, do I need to forgive? Is there a shadow work technique I can use to clear this? Every trigger is an invitation to rise. Now, there's one more powerful metaphor I want to leave you with. The art gallery metaphor. Imagine life is one vast art gallery, a museum that holds every possible kind of art you can imagine. Some rooms are filled with beauty, others with chaos. Some paintings inspire joy, others sadness or anger. And here's the thing, you can't change the art. You can't walk into a gallery room, hate a painting and demand the curator take it down. It's allowed to exist. What you can do is choose to move to a different room. Choose to focus your attention on the paintings that uplift and inspire you. In life, the same principle applies. Choose. Don't try to change. When something unpleasant happens, most people waste their energy complaining, resisting fighting it, getting glued to the very thing they dislike. But if you want to shift your reality, stop reacting and start choosing differently. If you find yourself stuck in a situation you dislike, don't stay there and complain. Move your attention. Focus on something higher, better, more aligned with who you truly are. Because whatever you focus on, you feed. Whatever you give your attention to, grows. This is another way to prevent new energetic anchors from forming. Don't get stuck in reaction. Stay empowered in response. And remember, the anchor only has power if you keep giving it energy. The more you ignore the bad paintings and keep walking toward the ones you love, the more your life begins to fill with beauty. Finally, this brings us to one of the deepest reasons shadow work is so important. The mirror principle. When you truly understand the mirror principle, the idea that your outer world is constantly reflecting your inner world, you'll realize that shadow work isn't just nice to do. It's essential. Your reality is a mirror. It reflects back your beliefs, your emotions, your unconscious shadows, everything. When you heal and integrate your shadow, the mirror begins to reflect back a whole new reality, one filled with greater peace, abundance, and joy. If you want to dive deeper into the mirror principle and truly understand how your inner world is shaping everything you see and experience, I highly encourage you to check out the next video linked right here. Because once you fully grasp this, you'll understand why doing your shadow work isn't just powerful, it's life-changing.